Welcome.
Bienvenidos, bienvenidas.
Willkommen.
Ahla wa sahla to breakfast together.
Good morning everybody.
صباح الخير.
Günaydın arkadaşlar.
Доброе утро.
How are we today?
Kalispera.
Kalispera? Kalimera. Come on, Greek.
Kalimera.
Too early for
Kalimera.
Kalispera.
Exactly.
Hello, everyone.
How is everyone?
Not bad, not bad.
Marvelous.
Surviving winter.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
By the time we
exactly.
release this episode, hopefully,
Yeah.
spring is gonna meet our
Hopefully.
windows.
Because
spring.
Berlin is horrible. It's non-stop winter. So
You have
Oh,
no
yeah.
right to complain. I live much further up north.
yes, but here is more
True.
winter than yours. My winter is better than yours.
Okay. If you say so.
Your winter brings all the boys to the yard.
Exactly.
But it's a good time when the weather is not so good and you cannot spend so much time outside. I think it's a good time to start some new hobbies and build up some new habits.
Or rather to build up things that are difficult to do.
Right. Which brings us to the today topic brought by Asia.
Atomic Habits in Languages. Maybe some of you have already heard about this book by James Clear. I found it very interesting. I thought our team can discuss it today. So yeah, let's dive in.
I'm very curious about today's episode because I have no habits, so I'm very curious for my fellow co-hosts to enlighten me on what
I'm
are these
sure
habits that you people speak about.
at the end of the episode you may be like, oh my god, I
Sorry,
actually do this.
So yeah, please tell us, Asia, because I haven't read this book as well.
Yeah, guys, it's not like I'm some kind of a James Clear, PR assistant sort of telling everyone about this book. All in all, I do remember Luca Rampalieri referring to this book quite a lot. And I read it around, I don't know, 3 years ago. And what I remember very clearly was that first, my mentality just shifted a tiny bit. I already found some of the things that are described in the book, and the book pretty much describes the system, how you can, build sort of some sort of a system for yourself to follow and automate your actions so that throughout the time you become successful. So it's pretty much how to achieve your goals without actually having any goals. And by the end of the book, I thought that a lot of things that were described I'm already doing, which was great. But at the same time, little tweaks, little changes in my behavior, thanks to this book, also helped me to just become more consistent. An example, I think I'll start from kind of a middle. Instead of thinking that you need to do something, I don't know, learn, let's say, a new language, speak Greek, right?
Write a book in Greek.
Write a book in Greek, write a book in general, right? You just think to yourself, instead of saying, I want to speak Greek, you just say, I'm a Greek speaker. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the very little tiny change where you say,
You
I'm a Greek
identify
speaker.
yourself. Okay.
Yeah, like you, exactly. Identity. You just find yourself identity, and instead of forcing yourself to make an action, you become that action. So once you worn that sweater of Greek speaker,
With
you
Greek
may wanna,
letters.
you may wanna follow this. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know. I think for me it would not work, to be honest.
Telemachos, nothing will work for you.
Yes.
But let me make you an example, Telemachos, about you. Are you like, do you dance salsa or are you a salsa dancer? Do you know what I mean? For me, for example, you are a salsa dancer. For me, you are a
I mean, I
dancer.
am. I'm
So
salsero.
your identity for me is already
He
that
is
you are.
salsa.
But
Salsa
for
is
me,
his
it would be.
second name.
But for me, for example, if I did just one course and I was feeling that I cannot dance, I would feel like lying if I tell people, yeah, I dance. You know what I mean?
But okay, maybe the definition of So I guess in here, it's difficult to call yourself something, someone, if you are not at the high level of that. I think this is where the problem lies, right? You
Yes,
cannot be
yes.
a Greek speaker if you only know, you know,
Kalimera.
kalimera, kalispera,
Yamas
tikanis, right? This
and
is
the
a bit
M
difficult.
word.
This is our level, by the way.
Yeah, Asia, are you a Greek speaker?
No, no.
Come
I
on.
mean,
What kind of
No.
mentality is this?
but it would be great to build some atomic habits to be one, because I would love that, to have that identity.
So
But my
what else
point
would
is,
you do for this? Instead of the
okay,
identity
you're
thing.
trying to get me into Greek game. I'm not gonna play this with you.
No, no, no.
I'm
I'm
gonna.
trying to give you like because I'm sure that there is that the book also offers like various options, right? That the identity one is like maybe works for some people,
Right, yeah.
but I guess there are some
Mhm.
other habits that or mentalities that work for others, right?
I mean, what the book probably tries to say here, it's like, of course, we don't have to take everything literally and say, yeah, your level is like, I mean, let's not use the example of Greek, but in general, like you don't have to dance in order to say that you're a dancer. I think there is like the motivation bringing or like building up the motivation yourself and saying, I am a dancer, so I'm gonna keep dancing, keep doing that for, I don't know, every day or every second day. And at some point, after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, depends on your progress, depends on your personality, you will become a dancer. I think that's what the book tries to say there. And as Dila says, it's like probably it's like different things works for different people, right? So
Sure.
I think what I understand from this as well is that maybe okay it works a bit less when it's let's say a habit that you need to be at a good level to even do, let's say like speak a language. But for example, I guess running, like if you just go running every day, I mean you are a runner, right? Or let's say the other way around.
That's my point. I'm just putting consistency over the level that is being achieved. Because
Exactly.
before we achieve a level that is being, let's say, respected, or some kind of an achievement that is being admired by others, you are still that person. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're still a runner. You may not have any achievements, but if you are uh, consistently doing something, you are
Hmm.
that person. It's about
Hmm.
consistency and regularity, for me, I guess. I don't know. I need Irena to help me out here.
Go ahead,
No,
Irena.
another thing I wanted to digress a little bit from the topic. According to the summary of the book, which I haven't read. I mean, I read the summary, not the book, but it's on my bucket list. Definitely, I want to read this book. I have even downloaded it.
same,
Like
same.
you know,
I have it
some.
In my Amazon basket for so long, but I haven't bought it yet.
I mean, I just have a free version, but yeah. Let's not talk about where I got it from. It was a gift. It was a gift from someone.
A little
So
raccoon brought it to you.
exactly, yes, yeah, tu sabe. So another thing that the book talks about is that in order to achieve this state of consistency, you need to have cues. The cues, the small cues, can help you achieve your goals. And since we are all polyglots and we talk about language learning, we will try to kind of take it to the direction of language learning so that it's useful for all you dear listeners. So what could a cue be when it comes to language learning? You know, for example, when I make coffee, I listen to a podcast in Turkish. You know, so you have certain habits, certain behavior that kind of triggers another language learning behavior. Or I do like Duolingo for those who do it, not me. You know, like
A
every
friend from the village.
yeah, so I do it like, for example, after lunch, or like, you know, whatever. So yeah, the point is that you do small steps, and one habit triggers another. Do you guys have any habits like that, language learning habits?
I mean, what I try to do now that I have a bit more free time, I try to. So, because for example, now I'm learning Russian, and one of the biggest challenges in Russian is that the vocabulary, which is a pure memory game. I mean, you cannot grammar you can understand if you study hard enough in a day a bit more or something, but grammar is just like you just have to like repeat it over and over and over for days and weeks and months until it sticks in your brain. So I think it's a bit of it's one of the really good things to do every day, like a little bit every day, and it does help because something sticks around or it's easier the next day. So I think that, for example, doing like a vocabulary, some people have, like the little notes all over their house, for
Do
example.
you have that? How do you learn the words?
No. No, because I'm a bit more focused on specific vocabulary, and at this point, I don't, it wouldn't help so much, but I do get the thing. But yeah, I think it's also useful, like to tie it with habits that you already have. That, for example, let's say that like you have a coffee and you read like a few pages of a book in a language, let's say, so
Mhm.
then every time you have the coffee, you
I
combine it
can
with
see you
that
doing this, Silvahas.
easily. And I think also somebody was saying that it's you can also kind of treat your brain as a kind of like a pet. So you I don't know, like you do something tough. Let's say like read like listen to 20 minutes of a podcast in French, and then like you have a little chocolate or like some little
Mhm.
treat. And it sounds silly, but it's kind of I think how you train the little animal inside you. Let's say
That's
to
true. You're already hoping into make it satisfying with the rewards. This
yeah.
is another part of the
Yes,
Yeah,
system.
yeah, yes. Then
it,
your brain is like, oh, if I do this, then I will get like some reward at the end. So
it's
it's
exactly.
actually
easier to
the
do.
laws of this book, which I've read that is mentioned, the four laws, I think, or something like that, which is one of them. Apart from making it obvious what your goal is, and let's say you want to start working out every day, you have to put your shoes in front of you so you can see them every day, like build up the environment, which exposes all the cues for positive habits and not the negative ones. Or, for example, you not like put your smoking cigarettes in front of you when you want to start like running, right?
So it's
Which
the
is
other
not
way
good.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also what he was saying is make it funny or attractive. Plus, make it easy. You don't have to make it complicated. Which what you mentioned, Telema, here is make it attractive. Do it with something else at the same time.
Hmm.
Make it satisfying so you can go back. Brain. I realize that with especially with languages, but also sports and things like that, brain doesn't like something that is difficult. You will never come back to something that is. Last time that you did, you had like a issues, or you maybe find it difficult to comprehend or like to
You
achieve
felt
something.
bad in general.
Yeah, in general, like it's something that produces you like a nice feeling. It's satisfying. And then you mentioned, like as you mentioned already, you need the reward, right? So it's the,
Hmm.
I don't remember how it was mentioned, like the stations of craving, and I cannot recall really, but more or less
Yeah,
is
it was
this
like a cue. I think it was called the cue loop.
cue loop.
When
Yeah,
you have a cue, craving, reward, and response.
yeah,
And the funniest thing that what I found about what you were saying, Dimi, is that the reward is the brain in general is such an interesting thing. The reward itself is not triggering so many uh, like nervous response as
Pleasure.
the
Yeah.
anticipation of that reward, and that is what's
Hmm.
crazy to me. So
Mm.
if you know that, for example, in my case about running, but also about I usually run with Spanish podcast on certain days, and that is anticipation of the fact that while once I'm done with the running, I'm gonna go shower and it's gonna be so nice and everything, and then I'm gonna have breakfast. That anticipation
yeah,
is making me really,
yeah,
really want to do that. And I guess what you said about having the other thing, that having those obvious, attractive, easy, and immediate in terms of satisfaction. uh, my clothes, this is how I kind of compare language to running, because running and sports is much easier for me right now to follow. Languages are still coming and going. So I love to put the cues all around me. Like my running clothes are all on the chair, piled up, and they're all right next to my bed. So the first thing that I see when I wake up is that bloody chair, and that's it. And I don't need to do anything else. I just pick up. They're all arranged in a certain piles, and I just pick them up, and this is how it happens. So, for example, with the languages, it helps me very much. If I have to sit down, then I can see my notebook, I can see my markers, I can see the highlight stuff, and I sit down, I open the book, and it's just right there for you. If I have to look for a pen and stuff, I'm not ready.
To- that's a really good point. And to your question, Irena, back to you, because you mentioned you asked the what if we have like habits for language learning. In the beginning, when I started like learning languages back in Corona, back then I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to study language. It was like just new for me. I learned English in school or in language school, so it was I didn't know anything. So I started like reading, and that's the funny thing that a lot of things that I've read or I've seen YouTube videos, people talking about how to bring to build up habits, is part also of this book. And one of them was what, as you mentioned, like you should build your environment. So I know that my sofa or like my desk is the place where I study, and when I go there, I might have eaten already my breakfast, or it's normally I'm doing that in the morning. I know that after I go there, even if I'm like doom scrolling whatever, eventually I will study, because I built this habit for so many years, which it's
Hmm.
part of my life. And if I don't do it right now, it's also feels weird.
Hmm.
So this you say like this cues, but at the same time, I would like to also mention that a lot of times we might feel unmotivated. So don't get unmotivated if you have the cues in front of you and you don't want to do or you cannot build the habit, because sometimes motivation is not that easy, and discipline and determined person, sometimes the mood can be low, other situation might stress you. So I get the point of the cues and everything, but a lot of times might not work as well.
But I think no, I think it's very important to just realize that the cues are there to create an automated system. So
Hmm.
when you feel low, because motivation is overrated in the sense that it is
Exactly.
something that is out there and everybody says, oh, you can be motivated. Motivation fluctuates very
Yeah.
rapidly. It may even depend on the moon phase. I mean, so many factors. But if you build yourself something that is easy to follow, whether it's some kind of environmental cue or any other thing,
Yeah.
then when you feel low, what you're doing is you're switching off your brain already and just following a certain pattern. That's why those systems were successful, because even if you don't have motivation, you're just following the same exactly thing that you've been doing, and you make it easy, right? You've created a system that works.
Yeah.
Sorry, Irina, I interrupted.
Um, no, 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 no worries. I wanted to actually comment on a similar thing, because when we talk about cues and the whole system, this is for the beginning, right? This is for creating a habit. So, creating a habit takes a lot of time and effort, but once you have it, usually it's quite smooth. Um, Also, you mentioned Asam, listening to Spanish podcasts and running. I have mine. I mean, I don't know what the reward is though, but currently I'm not doing that. But normally I watch one episode of Arabic series per day, usually Lebanese or Lebanese mixed with Syrian. But like there is no, for me, like this is so much fun. I simply love the language. I love being in touch with it. So this is my
That's the
reward
best.
actually. Like I'm looking
Exactly.
When
forward to it every
the
day.
habit is the
Yeah, yeah,
reward.
yeah. Like
You don't
I
need to
come
trick
home.
your brain.
I come home from work. Yeah, 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 I come home from work, like, and then I'm like, oh, now 40 minutes of Arabic. Oh my God, this is gonna be amazing.
That's a
And like right now, I canceled my subscription. I have like Arabic Netflix, which called Shahid, from the verb to watch. So a place where
Uh-huh.
you watch things. And it has like, this is a tip for our listeners in case you wanna have native content. It costs about the same as Netflix, and it has a lot of series and films, etc., from different Arabic countries. And the coolest thing about this page is that a lot of films, they have subtitles
That's
in
very
different
nice.
Mhm.
languages. And I particularly watch Lebanese series with English subtitles, even though I understand like really, really a lot. Like, I just want to have it like for me, just in case. so that I can understand and enjoy it fully. And even though some of those series are like maybe not so well produced, I still love it. Like, this is my highlight of the day. However, Dimi, you were mentioning that. Sometimes when you're not motivated, maybe you start to sort of digress from your goals, and maybe you're not so focused on what you're doing. So my question to you guys is that what breaks your habits, and how do you fix the, I don't know, the glitches, or how do you fix the interruptions in your routine, efficient polyglots as you are?
Nice one, Irena.
After such a compliment, now everyone is gonna go back and work on their languages.
I think I have two things to say here. One is never skip more than one day in a row. If you do something once a week and then you don't do it for another week, you can't identify yourself as the person who is doing something consistently. Consistency means every day or every other day. That's pretty much that. And then I guess um, one super important thing is the 2 minute rule. So, like, I call it an entrance rule in the sense that I just, if I don't want to do something, like I really don't want to, but I'm like, okay, just 2 minutes, just sit down, let's say, and open Anki with Greek alphabet. Greek,
Hmm.
little bit. And then I end up actually,
It's never
doing
two
it for,
minutes.
yeah, and I end up doing it for 10 minutes instead of two.
It's a lifetime. Greek alphabet is a
No,
lifetime.
So, yeah, those two
that's
things.
that's really good. The first one I also kind of follow, and I like, and I try to apply that to my daily things that I do. But the second one is pretty good actually, because sometimes my brain doesn't want to accept what I want to do, or what my one part of my brain wants to do. So even if I start with 2 minutes, or if I push myself 5 minutes, and I cannot respond, I cannot think clearly, I just stop it. But that's a pretty good, and I can see that when I normally am not in the mood to do some sports, and I start, and then I was like, whoa, that was a good decision, because endorphins and a lot of movements always like good for brain, and brings happiness always. But to your question, Irena, like for me is mostly social media, and I avoid to have, I try to keep my phone far away when I want to do deep work. Also, like turn off the notifications and everything. And the other thing is holidays, or when I'm not in my home, my daily routine changes. I still try to keep doing things that are easy to do, like even if I cannot, like, say, study a language, I will do it online or with my phone, or read the news, or something in the target language. But for sports, for example, sometimes can be difficult. Again, depends on how determined you are to do it. So still you can push, but that's when it changes my schedule.
So one thing I realized after trying to, because I'm horrible with habits, so I've done all the mistakes, so I can speak from experience. I think one of the best things to like, let's say, for example, when you fail a habit, is to, when you do a habit, it's one part of it is doing the progress, but another part of doing a habit every day, or in a single day, is the establishment of the habit. So sometimes, even if, let's say, you want to work out, even if you do the worst workout of your life and it does not challenge your muscles at all, doing it just for the psychology of the habit is still worth it.
Yeah,
Of course.
So one of the things that
100%.
took
you
me a
showed up.
really long time to realize is that it's better to do something than nothing. Like, if you don't have time to like go to the gym, just do 5 minutes of exercise. It's still infinitely better than doing nothing.
Yeah,
That was one thing. And also
Very
because of,
true.
coming back to the thing that you said about, for example, preparing the clothes when you wake up to see them. I read a very interesting point of view that somebody said, maybe it works for some people, is to kind of like try to help today to prepare the day for yourself tomorrow as if it's another person that you're responsible for. So let's say, okay, I want the, like the tomorrow's Ase or tomorrow's Dimi. I want them to, let's say, work out or eat healthy. So I will prepare that all these things for them, so they find it when they wake up first thing in the morning. And it's kind of like a responsibility you have to your future self to do that. And also, like one last thing is that um, many people have, like for many people, the hardest part of starting a routine is the psychological barrier. Like, let's say, if you want to learn a language, it's mostly like the psychology in the beginning. So for me, that's why, for example, I recommend people to use a simul, not because it's the best way method, but because it lowers all the psychological barriers. You have one book, it has everything, you can carry it around with you, you can do it
Yeah.
very easily without any, having to force yourself to do something or whatever. Or for example, I have my pull-up bar like right in my door. So it's like the psychological barrier of
Mhm.
actually just going there and doing pull-ups is zero.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I think for starting routines, like just lower every psychological barrier there is and just prepare everything. Or if you want to break a bad habit, just put psychological barriers. Like for example, putting your phone in another room if you want to use your phone less, let's say.
Yeah, that's a good one, and we can actually all come up with some of the tips like this for the listeners too, because I guess this is how it starts, like from the small, absolutely smallest ever thing. Even if you read one word in a foreign language and you say, okay, I'm just going to read this one word and that's it, that's already one word. You know what I'm saying?
It's
You're
better than
one
zero
word.
words.
Exactly. One is better than zero, two is better than two, one, and so on and so forth.
And your
So,
brain gets in the mode of I'm learning words now. So it's used that, okay, at this time at 6 p.m. every day, I get into this
yeah.
mode, even if it's for a little bit.
I love to put the reminder on my calendar. I use digital calendar all the time, and I just put reminders, and I'm just saying I don't know, blah blah something, word in Anki in Greek or word in podcast in Spanish or something like that,
Mhm.
and it just pops out on my calendar every single day, and it just reminds me that okay, this is the time. I'll go do it now.
Actually, for closing, maybe you guys we can share some apps that we're using to help us with keeping routines or habits, if you
Yeah.
have some or some tricks. I don't know.
I have actually one thing that I want to one of the phrases that really stick I first like learn or seen that in when I start learning languages, and I really liked when I read about that in, again, not only languages, like building habits. It was the best day to start was yesterday, the second best time is now.
A good one.
True,
I love that.
Mic
true.
drop. Asia, which app do you use?
I already said about calendar. Let Irana
Ah,
say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Anki as pure simple. That's something that works for me. I recommended it to a lot of my students. It has worked for a lot of my students. Currently, I have to say, I haven't been using Anki for a while. The reason, also shortly, like a massive burnout that I feel that I haven't been able to get out from, and it's just constantly something new. And now I'm gonna move out of my place of 4 years, so this is additional stress. But that's life, I guess. Anki in general is great, and Anki doesn't require that much of your time.
That's
Amazing. Yeah, let's bring some atomic habits into our life. So the systems we build around us are easy to follow and nice to complete with, and then we can just do them every day. And ta-da! And sometime it's gonna be, you know, great to observe some of the successful things we can achieve. So yeah, for habits and not for the goals. Goals are overrated as well.
Yeah, let's go and learn those languages.
no goals, we said. Just be the language.
no goals were hurt in the making of this podcast.
So, folks, thank you for listening. We hope that you enjoyed the episode. We know that Dilemma host didn't enjoy so much as the rest, but still, I hope the rest of our followers, listeners, would appreciate that. Have a great Sunday morning. Many kisses from everybody.
Besitos.
Be genius.
Besos e abraços. Beijinhos.